Hi everyone, I'm Dana Kohut, founder of the Prime View series of interviews with top business and technology leaders. Today, I'm hosting Chad Kalmes, VP of Technology and Risk at PagerDuty, a company that builds robust platforms and scalable systems for IT organizations and companies across the globe. Chad, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today. And as the first question, can you please share your career path, the steps that you have taken that have led you to the point where you're now?
Yeah, and so, I think my career trajectory is maybe a little bit different than a lot of folks in tech today. I actually started my career in professional services and then transitioned into technology over time. And I also started with more of a focus on security and risk. And this was probably 20 plus years ago before security was, quite the focus that it is today. And I kind of broadened that into more general technology areas over time. But what I really liked about starting in professional services and then transitioning into technology was that I got to see how a lot of companies operated and a lot of different approaches to solving the same challenge. And quite frankly, even directly out of school, got windows into Fortune 100, Fortune 50 companies and how they operated. And it was great experience. It was great exposure. And you learn pretty quickly that there's no one singular way to do things. And I think that became very foundational in how I eventually approached my own journey when I became the owner of those technology stacks. And I felt that also helped bring a pretty balanced perspective, understanding how larger companies, very traditional infrastructure companies operated. And this again was when most companies were still living physically on-prem or in data centers. And then seeing how that also sort of transitioned over the course of my career to working more with technology startups, living in cloud native environments, SaaS environments, and then focusing on hypergrowth. And so getting to see sort of both ends of that spectrum and how different people accomplish the same thing differently was a great introduction and a great way, I think, to kind of go into technology with your eyes open and understanding that there are a lot of different ways that you can solve the same problems, and really understanding the core of the issue and what your users' needs are is kind of really the first and foremost step to taking that journey to building a solution.
Chad, thank you for sharing that. For many years, you've been in leading position at different technology companies like Twilio, Protiviti, and now you're at PagerDuty. I assume you had to hire lots of people for different roles and positions. Maybe you could share with our audience the secret of building high-performance teams.
Yeah, I will say, and this may sound cliche, but it definitely is not. I really do think that diversity and that hiring is key, and it's really not just a talking point. I've always valued, and again, maybe this goes back to sort of my days in consulting, bringing in different perspectives, different backgrounds, different experiences. When 10 different people in a room look at a problem, if they don't all come from the same background and the same experience, you're going to come up with 10 ways to solve that problem versus just one. And I don't want people on my teams who are just going to agree with me 100% of the time. I know what I know. I want to know what they know. And I think hand in hand with that diversity and sort of the different perspectives is a lot of autonomy. I've never built my organizations around micromanaging. I guess my view as a leader, at least how I view my role, is setting a clear vision and direction and maybe calling out some key milestones or stops along the way. But I shouldn't have to prescribe how my people get from point A to point B. And again, I think that's the power of really leveraging the experiences of those people. If you're aligned on where you're going and what you need to accomplish, letting those people take their own experience, and kind of run with things, I think is super valuable. In addition to that, I think looking for individuals who are good listeners is important because I do think one of the key aspects of being successful in technology is really listening to your customers, whether those are internal teams at your company or actual customers of your company's product. And again, that's not to say that the customer is always right, but I think job one is understanding their point of view and sort of what their challenges and motivations are, even if that means, job two might be pointing them in a different direction, but you've got to start with listening. And so I really want to build my teams around people who are there to listen and to understand first, and then to solution and come up with ideas secondly. And maybe the last point I'd call out is honestly, hire people that are better than you, and don't be afraid to highlight those folks as the real power of your organization versus yourself. I want my teams to be able to continue if I get hit by a bus tomorrow without a blip. And you can't do that by either building a team of B players who are not going to be strong enough to take over, or by hiring a lot of really great A players and then keeping in the shadows. I think to be a successful leader, you got to bring in the best people and you got to let them shine.
That would be really interesting to hear what kind of individuals you're looking to bring to your organization and to your teams in order to foster innovation culture.
Yeah, and the way I like to think about it, and I'm sure there's plenty of literature out there to look into, but I'm a big fan of finding what are called T-shaped resources. So people who might have really deep skills and experience in one particular area, but who can also sort of flex outside of that to cover areas outside of their general expertise. And again, I remember back in the day when a lot of hiring, especially in technology, was really focused primarily on like a core technical skill. Like I have to have an Oracle 11i DBA that knows XYZ very specifically. But I've actually found that the people in my organizations over time that have tended to be the better performers are those that are maybe well versed in a specific area, but actually enjoy having things thrown at them that are outside of that. People who get excited by new challenges and don't always just kind of retreat to that comfort zone of, no, I don't know that, I only know this one thing. So that T-shaped individual or even that mindset, I think, is really important, again, because there's no one single right way to do things. And the more that people get excited by thinking about a different way to solve a problem or a different way to tackle a particular challenge, even if it's something they've never done before, I think that's really the key for high growth, dynamic teams that are going to be successful.